Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm Sarah Martin with The Contoured Chemist. All right guys, this is a requested video today. I was asked to do a video on my top 10 items from Seint. And I feel like this could be a trick question because does every single 10 count as one? I don't know. So I'm gonna show you both. I'm gonna show you 10 basics if you are new to Seint, brand new, and you need to know like what you need to get started. And then we're gonna take it up a notch and assume all the makeup counts as one and what I would add to it. Like what's my favorite things once you have your core colors and are looking to expand your collection. So if you want to check it out, please keep watching. Be sure to like and subscribe, and thanks for being here. Good morning, friends. This probably won't be posted in the morning, but right now my kids are asleep. They might come crashing through my door at any moment. This is when I get all my work done in the summer. Cheers to summer. All right, let's get into this. So I'm gonna show you a little bit about the basics and what I would pick for my top 10 for beginners. And we're talking everything from tools and colors, 10 items only. This was really hard for me, you guys. Obviously, I've been an artist for 6 years now. I have everything we've ever made, and it can be very hard. 10 is not very many things. I have way more than 10 in my daily compact. So what are the must-haves? I'm gonna start with tools first because this is universal. In my opinion, this is the easiest for me to answer. Number one and two would be the brushes. I recommend these two for everyone that begins with the makeup. I still use these two brushes every single day. So this is the blush, bronzer, and the detail. I don't ever contour without this brush. I just don't like to because this makes it 10 times easier and I don't have to fix it afterwards. Anytime I use anything else to contour, I feel like I have to fix it. It takes more work to get the look I want. This is a game changer, I promise. It is the best contour brush. And that's mainly what I use it for, is just contour. This end can also contour detail areas like your nose and under your lip. I use this for the rest of my face, and I can use this for highlight, accent highlight as well. But I don't ever do my makeup without this brush, ever. So this brush, on the other hand, it took me actually quite a few years before I was like on board with using this for highlight. I'm a rule follower, if you don't know, and it's blush and bronzer, right? So I was like, why would I use a blush brush for my highlight? It's not what it's made for, right? So for the longest time, I would not use this brush. And then once I finally tried it for highlight, I realized this solves so many issues. My makeup got so much better. I was able to adjust the way my makeup looked far easier. And I find with my clients and troubleshooting, this gives far less issues than some of the other brushes that are usually recommended. So I'd say I use this for highlight, both my color corrector and my main shade, and I'll explain that in a minute. And then bronzer, and I only use this for bronzer. Now I also use this end for blush, and I think that's it. But I can do my full face with just these two brushes, and so that's why these two are a must in my opinion. If you aren't new here, you know what my third one's gonna be. If I'm talking tools, I'm talking the Perfector sponge. Can't do my makeup without it. I don't recommend my methods of application without the Perfector. There is no physical way you can remove excess product from your face without this sponge. And no, this is not like other sponges on the market. This is not designed for a liquid foundation application like those are. This is actually designed to remove excess creams, which is unique. When you feel it, you can tell a difference. It doesn't feel like other sponges. I used to do like contour classes, and I would bring the other famous one that's way more expensive than this one, and I would make people feel the difference. You can literally feel it, and once you try it, you'll understand what I'm saying. The Perfector. I am obsessed with this, and once you learn how to use it correctly, it will be a game changer for how your makeup looks. It's really hard for me not to pick more tools, but those are bare necessities. All right, let's get into colors. So first I'm gonna act like every single 10 counts as one, okay? I'm not gonna count the compact because it comes for free. So if you spend so much, you get compact credit and you can pick the compact. Obviously, I have a giant one. I also get little ones that just hold 4 total 10s. My other one I put away from my giveaway, one like this that's a double decker that holds 8. And then what I recommend bare minimum is the 12 or 18, which is this size, just 2 levels. In my opinion, anyone who gets anything smaller than that regrets it, because then you have to buy another compact because you are gonna want more shades, and then you won't be able to fit them all in one compact. This is as small as I recommend. This is a 12. It holds, there's our fruit punch collection. It holds 6 on each level. I'm not counting the compact because you add it to your cart when you add your single 10s, and you get it for free. I mean, that's the entire purpose of this makeup, is that you can have all of your full face in one compact. Makes it really simple, easy, and fast, so you don't have to go through a makeup bag and waste time opening bottles, closing stuff. It is so much easier. I'm cheating, I'm not counting the compact, but let's talk colors. So if you are new to 3D foundation, you need to start with a color match. Color match from an artist who understands this makeup is like night and day with this. I didn't get a color match the first time I tried this makeup. It took me several orders before I figured out. And to be honest, they truly still weren't my right colors, but it just looked better. It took me many, many years to understand these colors the way I do. Get a professional artist color match that is an artist with Seint, because this makeup is very different. It doesn't look like it does online. Like, does this color look like it is my color? Probably not. Some people might be like, oh, that's your color. Far from it. It gives me so much texture unless I apply it with those other colors. So first color within 3D foundation is what you would think of similar to a traditional foundation or concealer shades. They're skin tone shades, but our highlights are not designed to match your skin exactly. And I know that's kind of hard for some people to understand, but this color in the 10 is not at all what it will look like on the skin. And if it does, you're applying too much. You use very little of a very highly concentrated product, and it will give you coverage, but it's the combination of your highlight shades that will give you that perfect match. And so these highlight shades do give you your coverage, not like a concealer in my opinion, because the order matters. You always apply the darkest color to the darkest points of your face first, or this color will give no coverage, texture, longevity, separates on your skin. It's very different than traditional foundation. So I will show you as I put them on my face why I have the colors I do, and you'll see that at the end, even though none of these will work by themselves, when using all 3 together, I get the perfect match. And it's all about just learning your face. My color match request is down in the drop box below the video and in the pinned comment. I personally will look at your questionnaire and I'll pick colors based on how you want to wear your makeup. The answers that you give me tell me how to match you. So I'm not an artist that will just match everyone the same. I will do it based on coverage you're looking for, the concerns you might have, all of those things. So for most of my clients, they will use 2 to 3 highlight shades. I rarely ever would recommend one because one doesn't work for 99% of people. Most people do not have a really even skin tone to where one color will give adequate coverage everywhere and last on their face. And my number one priority when color matching somebody is to make sure it's gonna give them all day longevity. Because what's the point if you're wearing a makeup that won't last, right? So I have 3 colors. I actually have 4 highlights in here, but I'm gonna take one. We just got some new shades and I've been testing. So my first thing is going to be my color corrector. So I'm gonna take these out as I'm counting. Color corrector shade, this is what matches the darkest points of my face. This, in my opinion, is the number one most important highlight. If you just skip your color corrector and you wear a shade that doesn't match the darkest points, that color will not give coverage on those areas. So for me, for example, these areas that are darker, I've got some blemishes, my nose is darker, I've got a lot of dark points on my face. If I don't use a color corrector and just use my main and my brightener shade, then these will start peeking out through the day. My longevity won't be there, my coverage won't be there, and I don't like the way my makeup looks. So to me, color corrector is first. If I'm gonna skip a highlight, I'm gonna skip my brightener because that's an optional step. So corrector shade is my first highlight. And then today I'm gonna go in with this new one. This is my main shade. And then this is the main shade I have. Depends on how much self-tanner I have left on my face. So, but I could use both. I'd have to tweak my application. And then this is my brightener. So this is optional for most people. This is what's going to add that like light to the center of your face, but some people actually do need it. If your neck is naturally lighter than your entire face, you're gonna need that brightener to bring in the tones of your neck and keep you matching, keep you all tied together, if that makes sense. Otherwise, you're gonna have what I avoid, which is floating head syndrome, when your head does not match your body. I don't want to ever do that to my clients. So if I mark on your face in your color match that you need to apply your brightener here and really make sure you're matching, or even bring a little bronzer down your neck, that's because your neck is lighter than most of your face. And so a lot of times you just have to kind of tweak your coverage depending on your skin, right? I have the tools, 1, 2, 3. Now I've got 3 highlights, that's 4, 5, 6. I only have 4 shades left. Do you see why this is hard for me? So I'm gonna go ahead and go in with, which contour do I wanna use today? I'm gonna go in with the newest one because I feel like I'm pretty washed out. I'm a lot lighter than my body right now, so I'm gonna use a warmer contour. This is the new Cedar. So contour. Contour is the other half of 3D foundation. So it's your highlight and contour that give you coverage. So unlike a lot of contours on the market, this actually gives you coverage as well. I'll show you how I apply it so it gives me even more coverage without making all my dark spots and rosacea stand out. But this is the 3D part of 3D, meaning this is what gives you that dimension. Our faces aren't one flat color. This is what's gonna add back in that shadow and frame out our face so we have a 3D look. There's pretty much like 4 colors within 3D foundation. It's highlight, contour, and then we got lip and cheek. The most fun part of this makeup, literally game changer for me. I don't even have them all in here because they're all in here. So lip and cheek, a dual purpose, obviously lip product and blush. We have 3 different types of formulation, lots of color choices. It would be extremely hard for me to narrow down my absolute favorite, but if I had to, so if I was actually going with my top 10 of all time, even though the newest shade that just came back is my favorite lip and cheek of all time, it does not give enough color payoff for me to never use another blush again. So this is Sunshine State. I will show it here in a minute when I do not just the basics, but we're gonna step it up a notch. I'll show you how I use that. I would say probably the closest one to it, you can tell how much I love this one, La Cienega, which has a good color payoff, but also has that gold shimmer. If I had to pick one lip and cheek color forever, I would probably pick that one. But for today's sake, I'm gonna show you a nice neutral. This is Ibiza, which is a nice neutral. I feel like I wouldn't be able to survive without a nice neutral in my compact. So Ibiza lip and cheek, because this one is great for the lips as well. That was number 8. Number 9 would be Illuminator. So the very last step of the 3D foundation would be to add that candlelit glow to our cheekbones. You can add it inner corner, under brow, Cupid's bow, all the places. We just got this one, which is called Nova, and I'm literally obsessed with it. It's like the color I didn't know we needed all of these years. It's beautiful. But if I had to pick a favorite, I would probably go with my OG, which was my favorite for the longest time, which is Rose Gold, and I would go with a perfume because Rose Gold Illuminator is in all of these, but it also doubles as a perfume. We have 6 different scents now. I would pick one of those so I could use it as a perfume and my illuminator, and this makeup's all about multitasking, so that's what I would do. So I'm gonna grab a Rose Gold perfume. My number 1 favorite, if I can find it, is 3, my favorite. So if you're looking for one, obviously all of them are described on the website. They all have the same Rose Gold, which is always been my favorite illuminator until this new Nova, and it's really good. That was number 9, an illuminator or perfume. And then 10 is, again, really hard for me because I personally would say a bronzer. We have, gosh, how many shades do we have now? 5 different bronzers now. Bella bronzer, Ride or Die. Really would love my bronzer. But for me personally, I have to set my under eyes. Have to. And so Vanilla Dust is our setting powder. So between those two, gosh, I don't know. I probably would care more about my longevity and finish of my face, and so I'd probably select setting powder. It's not the most fun shade, but I never, ever, ever do my face without it, and I do my face without bronzer. I only use it when I need it, and since I went ahead and picked our warm contour, we're gonna see if I can get away with not using it. We'll see. Okay, so now that we have our top 10, we're gonna do our face with just these 10 products so you guys can see the finished look. Okay, a little basics of 3D foundation here. Like I said before, number 1 most important thing is when it comes to highlights and getting good coverage, color correction is always first. So you always wanna go darkest to lightest as far as application goes. And that's because if you ever apply a shade too light, you'll know right away. It usually will emphasize the size of your pores. If you're actually wearing it all day, sometimes people come to me and be like, well, this area of my face started breaking up and cracking or looking like it was losing coverage, or like redness was peeking out. All of those things are signs that the color is too light for that area. And so if you really take a good hard look at your face, you'll notice that certain areas of your face are way lighter than others. And it might be more apparent on me than it is on you, but sometimes the difference between 2 shades of our highlights can make or break it. And so for me, the easiest thing is just adding an additional color corrector. You can sometimes use the same shades you might already have, but just add a little bit more coverage, say, on those areas that might be breaking up during the day or not giving enough coverage. And so that's when I started this method, and it's been a game changer for the way my makeup looks. I can use far less of these two shades than I ever could of one lighter shade, because I would have to load up way more product, and that's when it starts looking heavy or cakey, when I want my skin to show. So I want to be able to use the least amount of product possible, so I can use less of both of these than I would have just one lighter color. So that's why I believe color corrector can make all the difference and can be a game changer. That is one color I don't skip ever. If I want a really, really quick makeup day, I will just use more color corrector than normal actually. And I'll just balance my skin with a little bit of a lighter shade after I use this. So I'm gonna show you how I would use, this is what I call Magic Mango. It's just called Mango, but it is my color corrector. I'm gonna use the small end of the detail. And first I'm gonna show you how I'm gonna hit those darker points of my face first to give me coverage there, okay? So just like that, my broken capillaries are not completely gone. I wanna be very clear that if you're using a product like this, you want to use the least amount as possible and don't expect it to completely disappear. I am going to build up coverage with those next two shades. This is just going to meet the darkest points of my face, okay? And it's gonna help me build up that coverage. Way easier than using one color alone. Okay, so I'm using this end of the detail because it's nice and dense, and I can really buff on in order to get a thin layer of that corrector. And you'll see it's not looking anything like it does in the 10 on my skin, right? Like you can barely tell I have anything on. That is what we want. I also show how to use this large end of the blush brush for the same thing over large areas. So it's a lot faster, obviously, than using this tiny little brush, but same concept applies. Don't swipe in, I'm just barely gonna touch, barely touching, and then I'm gonna go ahead and distribute that by touching my face, and then I'm gonna just buff this in where I need it. So because I have rosacea across my mask area, I'm just going to buff on that thin layer, because this color corrects redness, whereas my main shade does not. Or at least does not well. I would have to use a lot of it. And that's exactly what I don't want to do. So, chin, forehead. Okay, just remember small circles with a nice, dense, fluffy brush like this is gonna distribute that product around so you're not seeing it, right? It's just gonna give you the thinnest possible layer. Okay, so now I've hit the high points of my face. I'm gonna go ahead and go into some more detailed areas that brush really can't fit, like around my eyes. So this will also get rid of those blue and purple tones. Again, amounts used is everything with this makeup. So if you're finding you need to use a lot of your shade to get coverage on an area, then most likely that's not the right color. It either isn't a good color corrector color, or it's too light for what you're trying to use it over. Okay, so see how that kind of just evened out that area. Okay, so I'm gonna keep correcting anywhere with this end. Okay, so I've hit areas, my blue, purple veins, some areas of texture. Anytime I have noticed areas of my face like that, I'm gonna make sure I'm using the darkest shade, because again, shade too light will always emphasize the texture of your skin. So now I'm just going and hitting a few more dark spots. Blemishes, redness, anything like that. And there you go. So, doesn't look anything like what it does in the 10, but I already have pretty good coverage started. If you see any parts of your face that need a little bit more, after you do the buffing step, I want you to go back in and press with this dense brush on more. Very little, I'm barely touching. I want you to press on more coverage where needed. All right, first shade down. Now let's pick up our second shade. This is our main highlight. So I utilize this shade in order to build up my coverage slightly, even out my skin tone, and tone down the warmth of my corrector, since my corrector is much warmer than my main. So this is the new hazel color. I'm still testing it. I feel like I like it on days when I'm dark enough. When my self-tan has been fully exfoliated off, it pulls me too dark and too warm, because this is a lot warmer than Sandy, which is one shade lighter and more neutral. This is not neutral. So anyway, for those that care, I'm using hazel, and I'm gonna switch back to the blush end. And again, I'm just tapping. The most important thing you can do is start with very little product and then slowly build, okay? So I am just gonna press this on each area of my face before lightly tapping in for more. So I'm gonna do the jawline first, and I'm just pressing this on as I move around. So that way I don't get too much product in one spot. This is really how I build up my coverage. And even my skin tone out. Okay, now I'm gonna go up. Now you'll notice I'm gonna go everywhere my contour goes. And that's because I have a lot of dark points on my face and I have rosacea. So this will give me more coverage than if I skipped those areas my contour would go. You'll probably see a lot of artists who contour first. Doesn't work well for me, doesn't blend very well. If you have a lot of hyperpigmentation like I do, I don't recommend that method. Or my contour actually makes it, what happens is your dark points will show through just contour. But when you're using a color corrector, a highlight, and then contouring, you're gonna have 3 thin layers of coverage. And so then when you put on your contour, it will blend seamlessly. If you just put on contour over dark points, those dark points are gonna show through, and it looks like you just have patchy coverage on your contour area. You can see those dark points coming through. Does that make sense? I hope it does. So I'm just gonna continue pressing this on everywhere. So this is where you can get the coverage you want depending on the day. If you want a really natural look, you're gonna barely tap in and you're gonna tap on less of your main shade everywhere. If you want full coverage, you can go and keep tapping and keep building up that coverage until you're happy. I would say this is probably about medium coverage for me. I will still remove a little bit of excess at the end. And so it truly just takes a little bit of practice and trial and error for you to learn how much you're gonna be applying in order to get the coverage you want. It can take some time. I'll be honest, you can know how to tweak this foundation after 1 application or 2 or 3 or 4. It takes weeks of trial and error if you're wanting to tweak it for the daily. Like after all these years, I've tried every brush, I've tried every technique. I can easily tell you which brush to use for what kind of coverage you're wanting, but you have to learn how much to pick up. I can show you how to tap in, but you have to make sure you're not, it has to do with pressure and how you're getting it on the brush. All of those things can make a difference when you're talking about picking it up out of a 10 And these are not huge, but guess what? This will last me 6 months. Like, these things are so highly pigmented, a little goes a long way. And it can take a little bit of time to really learn that for yourself. Okay, if you have smaller areas, you can go back to that small brush and build up coverage for those parts that that brush doesn't fit well. So I usually go up under my eyes, around the nose, and even out my eyelids so I have a good base for eyeshadow. Okay, while that brush is still in my hand, I'm gonna go ahead and contour. So this is the new Cedar. I usually use Astoria. This one is a little lighter and warmer, but you can probably tell I look a little washed out compared to my body because my self-tan is faded. I've been exfoliating my face a lot more this summer than I ever have. So let's go into contour and the detail brush. Love this brush, but I only apply it a certain way in order to kind of tweak it. So what I do is I take it at an angle, I will pounce. Now these are much drier than our highlights. So you have to pounce in with a little bit more pressure. So can you see how I got the color on about half that brush? That will let me strategically keep it under my cheekbone. If I was to use my finger and swipe this on, what does that mean? I'm gonna have to work to blend that out, and I'm gonna expose all of that dark points underneath all that highlight. So I got a good, nice, even canvas here. I wanna apply this in a way it doesn't expose that, and I can blend and apply at the same time. So this is why you'll see I never use any other method. We're gonna go from about the top of the ear, act like we're going to the corner of the mouth, but we're gonna stop as we line up with the eye, and that will give us the ultimate lift, okay? So cheekbones are the hardest to contour, but they make the biggest difference. So all I'm doing is tapping on to just, to actually place the product. Then once I see it's on there, I'm gonna start pressing with more pressure, and I'm gonna start pressing upwards, and that's gonna blend that line out. You see that? So it's going to kind of fade as I go up. And since I like a more defined contour here, I'm not going to blend like this. I'm not gonna blend down. That will drag my cheekbones down. I'm just gonna press upwards until I'm happy. Now, if you ever see like it looks like a stopping point on your face, that's when you can either grab this end or your other brush that you use for highlight and just kind of blur that out, okay? We want it to get a nice ombre and not have like this stopping point. We also want to avoid in here, we don't want mustaches, we don't want to increase the look of our smile lines and deepen that shadow. That's why we stop here. It will kind of blend in a little bit, but it's still far away from that area. And I'm gonna repeat. Okay, forehead's so much easier. I don't worry about so much. You can pounce in with the full brush. You can keep it there. Just get the product on the brush. And again, I like to pounce. That will get the color down, and I can see, I wanna make sure I have enough product there. And we're gonna go all the way to about here. Now, if you want this area to look more slim, you wanna go down to your temple. If you want your forehead to look shorter, like I do, you wanna bring the color down lower on your forehead, okay? And so once you have enough color, then you can blend. You wanna blend up into the hairline so you don't get any white hairline lines. And then you always wanna blend down into that highlight. You don't want a defined forehead, only cheekbones. There's a bone here that looks like a natural shadow. There is no bone right there that should give you a natural shadow. This just frames out your face, okay? It's forehead. You can do as little or as much as you want. Just make sure you're blending. When it comes to jawline, I always like to go where the shadow is the darkest. So start back here by the ear, and then you want to pull it under that jawline, so up under here. If you put it on the side of your face, you're gonna see that. Now, there are definitely methods to disguising things like jowls or pre-jowls to where you're bringing it up higher, but I'd say if you are a beginner, don't worry about that. Just get it under the jaw, pull it down the neck. It'll help you if your neck is naturally a little bit lighter, give a little bit more shadow and more of that definition. Now, I don't like to contour my nose with this color because it can pull a little bit warm, but I'll show you guys anyway. So I'm just gonna use a little bit. Try to keep a pretty straight line. Cool thing about this brush is that it gives you that straight line. You can flip it over, blend up. I like to blend with the brush the most. And then also you can go underneath the lip. As long as it's blended well, it won't pull too red on your nose. If it does, if it's just pulling way too warm, make sure you're using a cool contour like Ash or Astoria, or Shadow, which is the only contour designed only for noses and these detailed areas, not for your face. Okay, so after I fully contoured, then I like to go back in with my brightener, okay? And I mainly contour my nose so I can show you the brightener is what's going to actually contour out the nose here. So we're just going to tap, 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 and then tap here, and I'll show you how it can actually slim your nose, which is what I use it for. You can add brightness to that inner corner. You just want to avoid any areas of texture with a lighter color. Now, since I already have my corrector and main shade down first, this is going to sit better on my skin. If I was to go directly with this color under my eyes, it would give me no coverage on my dark circles and give me a lot of texture here, which is what I'm trying to avoid. So I like to concentrate where I have a shadow naturally from my eye contours, and that's where I focus. I don't look at the trends. I'm just going for what works on my face. Okay, center of the chin, Cupid's bow, right down the middle of those contour stripes. And then again, if your neck is still looking lighter than your face, that's when I'd say pick up this brush, tap in, and then press it along your jawline. Now we pretty much have our foundation is done. Highlights on, contour on. This is the foundation. You can tell it looks good, but a little heavy for my liking. So this is where the magic of the perfector comes in. By now it has dried down enough that it's not gonna pull off my coverage, but it's just gonna pull off that excess and get it back to looking like natural and like a skin-like finish, which is what is so amazing about these creams. So I'm using this and I'm just going to literally be pressing it on my full face. I did a majority of my blending, obviously with brushes, because I feel like it's faster and easier, but this will kind of blur some lines and make sure everything, there's no harsh stopping points, but this is mainly what's going to give me the look I need under my eyes. So here it's super heavy. This is what's gonna take off any of that excess product because I use 3 shades under my eyes. You can still get it to look like skin with 3 shades, but it's all about the amount you're using and it's not possible without this. So I'm just gonna keep tapping under my eyes, and this is going to make sure those products don't crease, because creasing happens when you have excess product on your skin or you're not setting it. And I don't want you to ever think you can just set it with excess product there. That's when you get cakiness. So you have to use this first. When I say it's non-negotiable, I very, very, very strongly feel like it is a non-negotiable. You see the difference? It no longer looks like makeup. It looks like my skin. If only my skin actually looked like this on a daily basis. Since most of my texture is under my eyes when I smile or talk or blink, I'm gonna go ahead and set that in place, okay? So, oh gosh, usually I use a different brush for this. I forgot. Can't use that brush. Okay, I'm not gonna use either of these brushes because why? There's creams on them and you don't wanna ever just like floof on powder. That's not gonna set anything. You've gotta be able to control it. So I'm gonna go ahead and use the Perfector. This is not my favorite way to set. Just gonna make that very clear because it's harder to control. So I don't have a whole lot of setting powder left in here, but I'm gonna go ahead and get this on my Perfector. This is way too much, so I'm gonna dab off the excess, okay? I'm gonna make sure I don't have any creasing, and then I'm going to set my under eye with that powder that was on there. And then I'm gonna repeat. Because if I don't do this now, I will have crease by the time I'm done talking. Okay, so under the eyes, the amount is very important. Everywhere else, it doesn't really make as much of a difference. So I'm gonna go ahead and set anywhere I'm prone to creasing or look a little bit shiny. And always set my eyelids because I'm already creasing there. Okay, there you go. Now let's finish up this face. All right, so last but not least, my favorite, let's blush. Okay, so this is Ibiza. This is a semi-gloss, I believe. Yes, but there are different formulations. There's more matte finishes, really glossy finishes, and this is kind of in between, so you can see the sheen. I'm just gonna tap, tap, tap. Okay, I'm gonna go to the outside apples of my cheeks, and I'm gonna apply this right above that contour. And again, I'm pressing because I don't wanna move any of that coverage, that perfect placement right there. Now, these lip and cheeks, you can totally build as much or as little as you want. So if you like a bold blush, we have some very pigmented shades. I like a very natural finish. So to me, this is good. Now, I didn't pick a brush that can lip line, so I'm just gonna have to go in and apply this without my liner. My lips need liner or I have no definition, so I'm gonna look real washed out. But that's okay. Okay, the last of our shades is that Illuminator perfume. So since I have a perfume, I'm gonna put some on my ears, on my collarbone, but I'm also going to swipe. It's the only thing I swipe into and go directly to the face is my Illuminator. So I use my Perfector every time, and I'm just gonna tap right on that upper cheekbones, avoiding any area of texture. So we got contour, lip and cheek, Illuminator, and you see that beautiful glow. Makes you look younger, win-win. Okay, you can also use this inner corners, under brows. Oh my gosh, I really need to do my brows. And Cupid's bow. Okay guys, that's it. That is all of the shades. Now, if I was able to count all of those as just my one, say all of my highlights, contours, the foundations were only counted as one of my top 10, here is what I would add. I would add the multitasker, as you saw. My lips really need some definition. So you can either use your contour color, I did this for years, or you can add suede lip liner. Okay, so this is a lip liner. It's a little different consistency than a contour, but it is a great universal kind of warm color. Let's go ahead and just use the contour color I used to give my lips some definition with the multitasker. I love this brush. I use it for my eyes, my face, and my lips. You can put on color with this end. You could line with both ends. It's amazing. Okay, so multitasker would be my first to add. So that would be number 5. The next two, you guys could probably guess based on my comments, would be the line brush, because it's the only brush I feel like I can do my brows with, and an eyeshadow. And if I had to pick one, I'd pick my brow color. If you're lucky enough that you can use your contour for your brows, I'm jealous. I can't. None of them are the right tone and depth for me. But the line brush and my trusty Trust eyeshadow is my perfect color. So that would be my number 6 and 7. Okay, I feel so much better. So I feel like I could end right here, but I'm not. My next thing would be, so since I picked powder over bronzer, I would say if I could, I would need a bronzer in my palette for those days that I need it. Because right now, I'm okay. I think that warm contour helped me out, but I feel like some days you just need a little bronzer, right? So I already have the bronzer brush. I would pick Bella, it's the most universal, and then Glow Illuminator. So if you know me, I like that really glowy luminosity to my skin, and some days you just gotta fake it with a little glow. So I'm gonna take, now this one is another bronzer. I'm just going to pick Bella here, which is a little dried out, Glow Illuminator. I'm just gonna swirl into these two and add a little bit. The greatest thing about these is that you can slowly build up and just, again, tap it on where you need it to add that warmth. Sometimes it makes all the difference. Sometimes I use it as a base before my highlights. It is so versatile. So I need my Bella. So I think if I counted right, that means I have one more for that top 10. And that would most definitely, with no doubt in my mind, be a topper shade lip and cheek. I always recommend, if you don't know like what to start with the lip and cheek, start with a matte shade and start with a gloss. I love this shade. We don't have very many semi-glosses, but I love the fact that you can get a whole lot of pigmentation from these mattes. They're really pigmented. You can put some color down, get that color to your lips and cheek, but then you can have the versatility of either layering it with a gloss over it, mixing the two, just using a gloss on your lips. Having two is everything. So these are the glossy ones. Like I just said, I want that luminosity, that glow. You can tell that semi-gloss gave me a little bit of that glow. It's a very subtle glow. I would add that one shade that I said was my all-time favorite, because it to me is the best topper shade of all time. So this is I can't even talk. This is Sunshine State. It looks like it would be pigmented, but it's not. It's got a little bit of like that fuchsia undertone. If you build it up a lot, you can see that color, but for the most part, I just top it over everything. So I got that nice nude on my cheeks. Now I'm gonna add that golden glow. It's a game changer. Can you see that? Sorry, now that this is permanent, I told you guys, I would wear it over everything. You're gonna see it for everything. Like I could wear absolutely any lip and cheek we have with this over it, and it just like elevates it like 100%. So pretty. So that would be my final Sunshine State. If you don't have it in your collection, I highly recommend it. So I could totally go about my day and I feel pretty good that my face looks nice, right? But I gotta give some honorable mentions, right? So if you are like, okay, Sarah, I've been wearing Seint forever, I have all those things. What else would I pick? These are gonna be my honorable mentions. Obviously, eyeshadows. I mean, some days I go all natural and don't put any eyeshadow on, but the eyeshadow brush is literally, can do everything. I would pick the eyeshadow brush and just a simple like nude, like this is chai. It doesn't do much, but it just finishes off my eyes just enough. A little bubba underneath. And I feel like I look, I don't know, more awake. Is that a thing? With just a little bit more dimension on my eyes. And this is what I do for a nude. A nude eye, I just put bubba under a little chai in my crease. This is my nude eye look. Takes 2 seconds, but I have to have my eyeshadow brush. I can't do any eyeshadow looks without this bad boy. So it's hard for me not to pick all of the brushes, but we have a lot. We have over 10, so that would be like my entire list. So obviously I couldn't do that. And if I was gonna add one more thing, it would be this brush cleaning tile, because if you're doing any like other eye looks that don't have colors super close to one another, getting off your excess color between switching shades is a game changer. If you feel like your eyeshadow muddies up or mixes together, sometimes it's a matter of either having a second eyeshadow brush and using a clean brush to blend, or just grabbing a brush cleaning tile, getting off excess between each one. It's amazing. So obviously I could go on and on about eyeshadows. I feel like that's one of the best things about Seint is that you can have all of your eyeshadows in your same compact as well. So if you need help building an eye look, I have a resource for that and lots of eyeshadow videos as well. So I think I went over most of the brushes. Obviously, these two were in my original blush bronzer detail. I already went over the multitasker, line brush, and even the eyeshadow brush. But I am a brush lover. So if you're looking to expand your collection and have a brush for anything you need, I would say the powder brush is the one brush I use every day. That's what I would have used in place of the Perfector. If you already have the buff brush, this brush and I use very similarly to the powder brush. When I'm traveling, I don't have a separate powder brush actually, I just have a buff brush. And this is nice and dense and you can press it on just like the powder brush. And then this end would double if you like full coverage. So I'd say the buff brush for full coverage, the blend brush for natural look. You can probably tell by looking at these which I gravitate towards. I don't do full coverage very often, but I love a natural skin-like finish. The blend brush would be my choice for that. And then really the only other brush that I'd recommend would be the smudge. The smudge is my favorite if you like more dramatic eye makeup and you like to do outer corner. This is my favorite brush for that. I also like it to press on shadows on the lid. And actually this is my most favorite brush ever for nose contouring. You can use the straight end for your lines, the domed end for that down the center. If I want a really precise, good nose contour, I will always use this brush. I use the detail on the daily because I'm already using it and it's quick and easy, but this one will give me the absolute best look. You already have the brushes, you know the importance of keeping them clean, sanitary, and taking care of them so they last forever. The brush cleaner is, it's probably like the first thing I tell an artist that signs up, get the brush cleaner. Like you can't do this without it. You have to be able to clean your brushes. And we have a soap now too for more of a deep clean, but the brush cleaner is incredible because it dries in 30 seconds. You have no excuse not to clean your brushes It takes no time. I actually just gave my daughter a bottle so she could start keeping her brushes sanitary. If you frequently have breakouts and you're not cleaning your brushes at least once a week, I urge you to get the Seint brush cleaner. It'll be a game changer. One of the things I recommend once you've kind of increased your collection of Seint, so this is for my OGs, and say you're already using a triple compact and you need more storage, or you have this kind of compact, you like to use it for travel, but say you want something to like leave in your bathroom or leave at your vanity and be able to just flip it open and get ready. The Aisle compacts, I'd say, are incredible. So I like to use this for the daily because it has a giant mirror and this will stand up. So this is the big one. It's originally designed for eyeshadows, but I like to use it for everyday makeup. Like I took mine out of this and I'm like dying to put it all back in so that I can just sit here and open it up and be able to do my makeup without having to open compacts and look for all my stuff. Obviously we have the more like, these were originally called artist compacts that have a whole lot of storage, and I like to keep all of my colors in these, but for the daily, these are really good. So if you have size wise, this one, again, this one's, I used to just keep all of my daily eyeshadows in so that I can just, I love the fact that they stand up and have a big full size mirror instead of these that they lay flat, the mirror's not as big. I'm obsessed with these. These are hard, much more durable than the pretty paper compacts. So I would say that would be a nice to have. I always say it's a good thing to ask for like birthdays, holidays, Christmas, from loved ones. If you have a great Seint collection, it's like one step up, right? Or just a bigger compact in general. Say you started with the 12, this is the 27, and bigger is sometimes better, right? Last but not least, I'd say if I was saying all Seint and not just makeup, I kind of focus this mainly on makeup, I would say this would probably be my number one. If we're not talking makeup items, just Seint in general, I'd have to say the Seint cream. It's the one thing I mean, if I had to choose between the cream and the makeup, it would be hard for me to decide because that's how much this is done for my skin. So before I had a skincare regimen, Seint, at the time it was mascara, only had their milk moisturizer. And that's what this is, just renamed and repackaged. And I literally just started washing my face with any cleanser and using that consistently, and it literally balanced my skin. It is still the most hydrating, and you guys know, I test a lot of skincare. It is still by far my most favorite skincare item, and if I don't use it, I wake up and my skin is never as good as it can be. So Seint cream, if I can add non-makeup items, this would be probably my number one. It's a game changer. So if you've already tried the makeup and love it, usually that's when you're like, okay, let's check out that skincare. Creams, just start with the cream, don't even need the whole line. The cream is where it's at. The cream of the crop. Okay, I'll stop. All right, friends, there you go. I hope that was helpful. I hope I didn't cheat too much from the person who asked me to do that. But I hope that was helpful whether you are new to Seint or you're an OG like me and are looking to kind of expand your collection. What do you need? What isn't necessary? Those are at least my favorites. Those things that I can't live without. If you're needing help with your Seint 3D foundation or even Demi Colour, which I didn't even add yet, I think deserves an honorable mention as well, but would just make this video longer for me to explain. I can color match you for both. I'll put the color match quiz down in the drop box below the video and also in that pinned comment. If you're needing my help, I'd be happy to help you. I would love to hear from you. What is your number one? Did I miss anything that's like your number one favorite Seint item, or what, if you're new, what are you most excited about trying? Drop it in the comments below. And as always, thank you guys so much for being here. I will see you next week. Love y'all. Bye.